This time around, we'll learn a little bit about the diff command. It's a pretty straightforward way to take two files and see what's different between them. This can be especially useful if you're working on a project with friends and you happen to have made a bunch of changes and want to compare your current changes to the original file. Alright, so to get started, make sure you've downloaded the a and b.txt files and you've navigated to the folder they're in. Once again, I've just put mine on my desktop and we can see them here. And then let's take a quick look at these files and see what's inside. To do that, we can just use cat. So we'll cat a.txt. And it looks like it's a list of authors, Ray, Mick, Caroline, Greg, and me. And then we can take a look at B, and it just looks like it's a bit of an updated list. So let's go ahead and clear that. And to compare these files with diff, it's pretty straightforward. You just use the diff command, diff, and then you pass in both file names. So we'll say a.txt and b.txt. And we do get some output. We see 4D3, and we have a left arrow with Mick, and a right arrow with Alex, Kelvin, and Jesse. And the first thing you probably notice is that this output isn't all that descriptive. We don't really know what these things mean. So let's go ahead and pass in the -p flag, and this just improves the formatting. So we'll do -p. And then we get what is technically the same output, but it is a much more readable version. As we can see here, we have the minus sign in front of Mick, which means that line has been removed between these two files. And then we have a plus sign in front of Alex, Kelvin, and Jesse. So it looks like the original file, a.txt, had Mick, and then it didn't have Alex, Kelvin, and Jesse. They were added in B. Now you might wonder why this is super useful. And the answer is, let's pretend that a.txt is the original version of a file, and b.txt is the changes you've made. Say you're working on a project with some friends, and you've made a bunch of changes, and you want to be able to send these changes to your friend without them having to make all the changes manually. Well, what you can do is you can actually use this diff command to create things called patch files. And then you can give the file to your friend, and they can use the patch to apply these same changes to their version of the file. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. First, let's clear this, and then we can just go ahead and do the same command over again, and we'll just use the right arrow and make a file called a.patch. Now, for a moment, let's go ahead and pretend we are our friend. We've received this a.patch file, and we want to apply it to our own personal a.txt file. To do that, all we have to do is use the patch command. So we'll type patch. And then, in the same way that you can take the output of a command and put it into a file, you can use the opposite arrow and take a file and pipe it into a command. So in this case, we'll do the left arrow, and we'll say a.patch. As you can see, patch knew that since the file was named a.patch, it should be applied to the a.txt file. Now we can go ahead and cat a.txt to see what it looks like. As you can see, Mick is no longer in here, but Alex, Kelvin, and Jesse have all been added. So this file has been successfully updated to the state that B was in. Now, if you happen to use git for source control, there's actually a command called git diff. This command is almost the same thing as the original diff we looked at here, but it can be applied to the whole directory, and it's really useful for taking all the changes you have right now, and instead of committing and pushing that out, you can just turn it into a patch file and pass that to your friend.